Hello, my name is Peter McGinn. I'm the Assistant Superintendent for the Wilmington Public Schools, and welcome to another edition of In the Loop. In the Loop is a show that provides information about the Wilmington Public Schools to the residents and citizens of the town of Wilmington. This edition of In the Loop will focus on Wilmington's middle school. We'll learn about a new curriculum being implemented at the middle school. We'll speak with a principal of the school, the principal of the school. We'll talk to the coordinator of health and physical education for the Wilmington Public Schools. We'll speak with a reading specialist who is a key member of the staff implementing the curriculum, and we'll also have the opportunity to speak to some students about their perspective of the new curriculum. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Christine McMiniman, principal of Wilmington's Middle School, and to Laura Stinson, the coordinator of health education and physical education for the Wilmington Public Schools. During the past 3 years, Christine and Laura have been key in bringing this new curriculum to the middle school and getting staff recruited to implement the curriculum. Christine, tell us a little bit about the background to the implementation of this violence prevention curriculum.
This second step curriculum was approved by the school committee a number of years ago, brought forth by Laura Stinson and her second step committee, and it was approached to integrate the curriculum with regard to combating bullying and teasing. And so the violence prevention curriculum has taken shape over the past 3 years, and we are in full implementation this year. And it's a research-based curriculum that has proven successful in many other schools with reducing the incidence of violence, physical violence, emotional bullying, social bullying in the school.
Would you say that the Wilmington's middle school is unique in that it requires a violence prevention program, or is this something that is pretty typical in the middle schools in our country?
I think it goes along with many of the middle schools and the wave of, in the past 10 to 15 years, of bringing character education on board to the middle schools. Middle school is a very tumultuous time for adolescents between the ages of 11 and 14, and they are going through their own changes, physically, emotionally, and socially, and they are developing their own individuality, and sometimes they are a little bit reluctant to accept people for individuals. So sometimes they need a little bit of support and some skill building, which this curriculum provides, in order to allow acceptance of others and their differences.
Great. And Laura, Christine mentioned the second step curriculum.
Yes.
Why did you recommend the second step curriculum? And tell us a little bit about the skills inherent in the curriculum.
Certainly. Second Step is an excellent research-based curriculum where it had great documentation, and many of the school systems, both in the United States and in other countries, have found Second Step to be extremely successful when trying to combat certain situations dealing with aggressive behavior, bullying, and even to the point of some substance abuse issues. So the Second Step curriculum has extremely excellent lessons that pertain to those things that are going to strengthen student skills, some of which deal with understanding problems and communication skills that students may not be aware of, but that they need to reflect upon, and how they're going to communicate amongst their peers. Another part of the curriculum that's very much critical is the empathy training that the students receive. I think it's real important for children and teachers to sometimes stop and reflect upon how another person might be feeling. So there's a lot of the lesson curriculum that deals with empathy and the understanding of empathy. Another part is we find that many students may not necessarily have the skills on how to handle anger and what to do in a situation when they feel themselves getting really anxious or really upset. And so the Second Step curriculum addresses very specific steps that they can take and give them the skills that maybe necessitate them when they feel that situation arise within themselves. The curriculum itself deals with some very excellent problem-solving skills with regards to making positive and good decisions. And then obviously every curriculum wants the students to be able to then apply those skills in a real-life situation. So the second step curriculum was extremely comprehensive. Through the Mass Department of Education and the school Safe and Drug-Free School grants, many of the school committees across the state of Massachusetts have been implementing this curricula, and that was one of the reasons why the school committee as well as the school system felt it was vital to our children. And in fact, the program is designed to be for students grades K through 8. And as Christine had mentioned shortly ago, that we have a full implementation at the middle school level, and we are now looking towards next year bringing that implementation process into the lower grades. So it's been an excellent process. It's taken some time, but I'm really very pleased with our strengths with it.
And you mentioned that it's being implemented in other middle schools in Massachusetts. I think it's also won some national awards or national recognition as being an outstanding program.
Absolutely.
Which obviously is another reason that was key to your recommendation.
Correct.
Tell me, you mentioned a lot of the skills that are inherent in the curriculum. In your experience working with children of this age, is there one or two that's more important, or you think that the kids really need help with in the ages between 11 and 14 in today's world, which just moves so fast and the kids are so impacted by images on TV and the internet? Are there one or two that stick out to you as being more important for the youngsters to get a grip on?
For me, as a building principal, I see empathy and problem solving, those two sets of skills, as being the priorities. Not that the other skills in the curriculum are not as important, but with regard to empathy, we always stress with the students the message that please put yourself in someone else's shoes for a moment. See what it's like to be on the other side of a situation if somebody doesn't allow you to sit at their lunch table, if you have an argument with a friend, or if you get a poor grade on a quiz or a test. How is that person feeling? Have you been in those shoes before, and what did you feel like, and how did you help solve your problem? So the empathy piece is very big, especially with regard to bullying and teasing. That does go on at all ages, but primarily is an issue across the state and across the nation at the middle school level because of the impulsivity of middle school kids and of young adolescents. I think the problem-solving skill is something that we feel, as well as empathy, is a lifelong skill. These skills of empathy and problem-solving will take students through high school, through college, and into their adult lives. And as they move into high school and college, they will have to learn to work as a team with one another. When they get into the workforce, they'll have to accomplish a task or a goal with a team. And so they have to learn these communication skills and these listening skills in order to problem solve together, both at school, at home, and at work.
Laura, anything to add to that?
I would have to agree with Christine in that regard too. I think that even at the elementary level, we are trying to instill in children the ability to make good choices and good decisions with regards to their peers, and to begin to stop and think before they might say something that might hurt another student's feeling, and certainly not to exclude a child who may not necessarily feel so comfortable to be joining in an activity. And again, the impulsiveness of students and understanding the difference between being frustrated and angry, I think is another key to identify with children. We all feel frustration, and so if we can stop and reflect and give ourselves a minute before we make that next action that may not be the best action in that particular situation, I think is good.
In fact, I think we have a clip from one of our computer literacy classes that The students in the 8th grade created this in Mrs. Truly's computer literacy class, and it actually stems from last year from the anger management lesson, where students tried to recognize how their body reacts, what they're feeling when they get angry, and that it might be different, or it might manifest itself differently in different children or even adults. And the teachers actually went through this actual lesson as well. And so the anger management clip that we're going to see has a bit of team building and a bit of kids recognizing what they feel when they do get angry and how they can approach a conflict.
On Wednesday, March 11th, 8th grade students participated in 2 team building activities, including the Anatomy of Anger lesson and participation in either catapult or hip-hop lessons. These lessons focused on ways to identify problems, solve problems, and work in teams to find solutions. So sit back and enjoy our video.
The anger sign, I do about that. That's my favorite.
Oh, let's hear one of them.
One of them is that I'm quiet when I get angry.
All right, you get quiet when you get angry. That's great. Colin, what about you? Why you most?
I like go into a corner and don't talk to anyone when I'm angry.
All right, when you get angry, you want to be by yourself.
Because if like chunks are angry, they don't actually they technically don't harm the person, but they do get them away from them.
Okay. So when you get angry, you don't want to hurt the person that made you angry, but you want to get them away from you. All right, that's a great answer. You have 5 seconds. 4.
Wait, you're right. We're just trying to get attention.
3.
Got it, I got it.
Come on, watch it.
Are you watching it? What? No! Oh.
You're Have you had any instances where you've seen children mature or act differently as the result of, I know you had a pretty powerful speaker a few months ago talking about himself growing up and how he was bullied, and sitting in the audience, it seemed pretty powerful to me. And I'm just wondering if you've had any instances where you've either noticed or a student has mentioned something to you that you would say, boy, that lesson or that speaker really had a powerful impact on this student.
I think we're starting to see that more and more, and this is its 3rd year with really a full implementation. Teachers are starting to see students using the vocabulary from the second step curriculum. They're writing about it in their journals. They are recognizing a situation when it approaches, if they have to check their anger management skills and put things into perspective. So teachers are starting to see the students use the common vocabulary around the building, and our counselors and our teachers and our administrators are trying to use similar vocabulary.
Great. How about the implementation plan itself? Now, I think I first met you when you were doing a team building exercise 3 years ago. So what's happened over the last 3 years to bring the curriculum to the school?
We certainly, that was our kickoff, that particular day and time where we had our students and our staff fully engaged in team building activities. And we also did some introductory work with the staff with regards to what second step was. We broke down into groups and we did some lesson planning activities with the staff. And then throughout that the first year, we did specific lessons, 3 different lessons at 3 different times throughout the year. And then last year, we increased that number of lessons with the students. We continued our team building activities and included some of the additional second step lessons. And then this year, we've been very excited because we have a full implementation plan at all 6th, 7th, and 8th grade levels, where the students are actively doing lesson plans with different staff members throughout the school building and throughout the entire school year. We'll actually be finishing that whole process up the end of March, where we'll then have an opportunity to touch base with our students and get some feedback from them as to the year and what their thoughts were on the whole entire process. And next year, our plan is to continue our full school implementation, where we'll have all grades on 3 different levels within the curriculum. So it's been an extremely exciting plan. And again, one that we have certainly not been able to do just by ourselves. We've had an enormous support of middle school teachers in all disciplines. Everybody has really stepped up and really been excellent in having this come to fruition for the children at the Wilmington Middle School.
And I think what's really important to add there as well is the planning for the implementation goes back probably almost 4 and 5 years, because there was training provided for teachers from the district, I think with the help of the Safe and Drug-Free Schools grant. Correct. And probably about 6 to 8 teachers over the course of 2 to 3 years went for training underneath the Committee for Children, who authors the Second Step curriculum. And then those teachers came back to the school as teacher trainers. And we held, last year, we had at least 3 sessions where those teacher trainers trained groups of 25 staff. And they went through 2 lessons in the curriculum, one on anger management and one on problem solving, that each teacher experienced as they would if they were a student. And so the teachers stepped up very big, and they trained their colleagues. Yes. And then, so therefore, we were ready this year for all teachers to go out into the trenches, and across all disciplines, the students saw their teachers valuing the Second Step curriculum and putting an importance on it.
Great.
So It's been extremely rewarding and successful.
Yeah. Anything else you'd like to add before we go to the segment 2 of our show?
Just that we're really extremely excited and pleased at the product that we've had the students and the staff do this year.
And I think that the viewers will be very impressed with the computer skills and the technology skills of the students who put together this video.
Oh, great.
Yep.
Great. And in our next segment, what we'll do is we'll invite Joyce Peterson, a reading specialist at the school, to come in and talk about a summer reading program and how that plays a role in the implementation of the new violence prevention curriculum at the middle school.
I win.
I win! In your face! USA! USA! USA!
Think of all the fun you can have with an adopted pet. Contact your local shelter or pet adoption center.
Backgammon?
Passing gas around infants can be deadly. Passing gas releases a toxic fog of ammonia and hydrogen cyanide, which can be especially harmful on an infant's developing lungs. Passing gas can even contribute to sudden infant death syndrome. Kids shouldn't be exposed to secondhand smoke. Don't pass gas, take it outside.
Welcome back to this edition of In the Loop. As you heard in our first session about the new violence prevention program that's been implemented at the middle school by the name of Second Step, we're now joined by Joyce Peterson, who's a reading specialist at the middle school and has been a key staff member in the implementation strategy. And as I mentioned at the end of the first segment, there's a summer reading requirement for all students.
Yes.
For all students at the middle school, and it plays a key role in the implementation of this curriculum. So perhaps, Christine, you want to start and just talk to us about the summer assignment.
The summer assignment is obviously to have students keep up their reading over the summer months, and we thought it was very important. Again, the planning goes back probably 4 or 5 years, that 6th, 7th, and 8th graders would read a book that revolved around the theme of what it means to either be a bully, be a bystander, or be a victim. And the themes in the book have to do with a lot of real-life scenarios that the students face, perhaps, or are aware of on a day-to-day basis, in school, out of school, with some of their peers. And so the 3 books, Crash, The Revealers, and The Wave, were selected probably close to 4 years ago because they had common themes that were very important to us and the Second Step Committee that would be able to be reinforced throughout the school year with regard to the skills in the Second Step curriculum.
Okay. And these particular books, Joyce, tell us a little bit about the books. Is Crash the book that was made into a movie that many people are familiar with, or?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
But Crash is used with the 6th graders, and it essentially is a story of a boy who's going into 7th grade who had many, many friends in 6th grade, but then he went to 7th grade and no, I'm sorry, I think I'm telling you The Revealers, actually. I'll continue with The Revealers then. Who went into 7th grade and realized all of a sudden that many of his friends disappeared. And he was wondering what had he done to cause this. And the story follows this particular boy and some other kids who really didn't fit into some of the different groups. Crash is about, I'll get back to that one, is about a bully and another young boy. And they come to terms, more or less, through a various scenario. And they learn how each has a place in this world, and they're both people with similarities and differences. And The Wave, we are looking into changing that book because it is a little dated now. And that was based on a real life incident that a teacher out west did with some of his high school students. And he was teaching them the story of Hitler and the Nazi youth group, and how Hitler, the students could not understand how Hitler could convince so many people to follow him. And he put this experiment into place in school, and they refer to it as The Wave. And students who had never belonged to anything were now a part of a group and really then enjoyed going to school, being a part of something. But it fell apart, and when the experiment fell apart, this boy who had not been in a group, then was in a group, was now out again. And again, different personalities, different conflicts that all the students had to kind of fix.
So every summer, the students have an assignment, and the students who are coming into the middle school for the first time, the 5th graders coming from the north and also from the west, they'll be assigned Crash. And then the youngsters who are going from grade 6 to grade 7 have a book assigned, and then 7 through 8.
Yes.
So the students read the books independently over the summer.
Yes.
And what happens when they come back to school in the fall?
They're assessed on the reading to make sure that they understood the book and they did the reading and they're aware of the characters and the themes. Many of the teachers have provided study guides for the books, almost like a reading guide. As they go through it, they mark off the important characters and they have descriptions of them and some major events. And those are provided online on our website over the summer for parents and students to help guide them through the reading. And those study guides help the students prepare for any quiz or a test that might come up in the first month of school on the summer reading. And so they do have an assessment, and it does count toward their first quarter grade. And there are many discussions in the English language arts classrooms and in the reading classes that focus on the books at each of the grade levels.
And once again, the theme of bullying and the theme from the books, which very much is consistent with the curriculum, is the focus of the discussion.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Okay. All right. I was going to ask you the same question that I asked Christine and Laura earlier. Have you noticed any changes or any reflective moments that the students have, or opportunities that you've been able to take to say, do you remember when in such and...
I have with my reading classes. In fact, we had a second step moment, I think it was just last week. And it applied so directly to a lesson of walking in someone else's shoes and problem solving. And I did say to the kids, does this remind you of anything? And a couple of them said immediately,
Made the connection.
this is second step. I said, yes, it is. And it does carry over.
Good.
And I'm lucky that I'm in the position, I get to talk about books all day, so that I can make the transfer and the connections. Whereas sometimes it's not as easy as, say, a math teacher or a science teacher. My content lends itself to second step.
And I think also it's important to remember, as you started off this segment of the show, when I asked you about the summer reading, and you said, well, first and foremost, it's about having youngsters continue to read, which is certainly just as important as the content focus of the bullying, but for youngsters to continue their skill development in the very important area of reading. So, well, thank you very much for joining us today. And in the next segment of In the Loop, Christine McMiniman, the principal of the middle school, will have an opportunity to speak with some students who have been a part of the middle school during the implementation of this program.
This is fine. Thanks.
I'm your host, Rod Baker. Buddy, are you ready to meet that new challenger?
We're back here on this episode of In the Loop, and I am Christine McMiniman, the principal of the Wilmington Middle School. I'm here with two of our 8th grade students, Danielle Ray and Caroline Robage. They are two of our student leaders in the 8th grade, and they happen to be peer mediators. And our peer mediators are a very important group at our middle school, and they help some of our other students, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, resolve some of their conflicts. So you ladies have been involved in some peer mediations this year. What are some of the steps that you use to help the students, your classmates, resolve conflicts?
Well, there are 4 steps in a peer mediation process. And the first step is introducing yourself and making sure they know everything is confidential. And the second step is hearing both sides of the story and asking them how they feel about it.
After that, we try to help them come up with their own solution instead of us telling them. And then we discuss, if this ever happened again, a way to prevent it.
Great. So you all have been trained with your coaches, Ms. Ferula and Ms. Landau, and in past years as 6th and 7th, 8th graders. And now, being the 8th graders in the school, you're sort of leading the way and trying to help kids learn the way to help with problems. One of the ways that we help students work together very often at the middle school is we have our team building activities at the Wilmington Middle School. And can you talk about maybe how, what one of your favorite team building activities was, whether it was last year in the 7th grade or this year in the 8th grade? Can you describe one of the team building activities?
Last year we worked in groups in the gym, and we had to go from one side of the gym to the other without touching the ground. And it really helped us work with people we don't normally work with, and we got to hear everyone's ideas and everyone got to participate.
Got to participate. Excellent.
Recently we were building cars and we got to work with a partner who we normally wouldn't work with. And then after we did that, we went out in the hall and we raced them and we got to see everyone and work all together.
Great. So some people really might have had a great working relationship. Some people learned to communicate, and it's getting to know some of your classmates that you wouldn't really know.
Yeah.
Okay. And that can help, I think, with a lot of students because we have quite a large school with 942 students. So it's nice that you're able to have some of these activities where you get to know students who you don't necessarily usually talk to in the cafeteria or in classrooms. How do you think that the middle school's team building activities help promote students getting along in school? Do you think that they go along at all with our core values of responsibility and citizenship and confidence?
I think they show that you should be respectful but also confident, so you can stand up for yourself but you can be nice to other people because they also have feelings.
And we watch movies and they show that you have to care about other people's feelings and have citizenship to respect people around you.
Sure, and maybe see different things from other people's perspective. Yep. Because they might see it differently from you. So are those some of the second step videos that go along with the lessons in your classrooms?
Yep. Yeah.
Excellent. Back in December, we were able to have a nationally recognized guest speaker, Mark Brown, speak to all of our students. And he used the analogy of the movie Beauty and the Beast, with Beast and Belle as the main characters. I'm sure you're familiar with that movie. Do you think students can follow Mark Brown's advice of being like Belle?
I think people could be like Belle by not judging others, like how Belle didn't judge the Beast, and not make fun of people, and because everybody has feelings. Recently, we had a cyberbullying issue, and a student was bullied on Facebook, and you have to worry about how she felt and think about her feelings.
So, not making judgments and worrying about other people's feelings. That's good advice.
I think the students should be more like Belle by being kind and caring. If there's a student who may not have a lot of friends or may be shy, you could sit with them at lunch or work with them in class or even just say hi to them in the hallway to make them feel better.
Mm-hmm. A friendly smile definitely goes a long way. So those are some great ideas. I think that one of the clips that we have today to show is actually from our computer literacy class, one of the classes in the 8th grade. 8th grade students made a public service announcement, and it was revolving around one of the skills of empathy that you all have learned about in classes. And I think it ties in nicely. You just talked about thinking about someone else's feelings, putting yourself in someone else's shoes, and that really defines empathy. And I think that we could go to that video clip at this time.
The Wilmington Middle School 8th grade computer literacy students presents a public service announcement based on the Second Step program.
The Wilmington Middle School's mission statement encourages responsibility, confidence, and good citizenship.
Good citizenship requires
respect for differences,
self-respect,
manners,
kindness,
honesty,
tolerance,
pride,
open-mindedness,
compassion, and of course, empathy. E.
M.
P. A. T. H. Y.
Empathy. Empathy is the ability to understand another person's emotions and feelings.
It is often characterized as being able to put yourself into another person's shoes.
Hey, what's up?
Nothing much. We were just talking about the second step lesson we did on empathy the other day.
I had the flu last week. I was sick that day. What was it about?
It was about trying to put yourself in another person's shoes and think like they do.
Yeah, we talked about how different people perceive situations differently.
What do you mean?
You know, how to understand a situation.
Yeah, we talked about how perspectives influence our beliefs.
For what you say?
Perspectives, your point of view.
Your perspectives are based on your experiences, feelings, needs, and beliefs.
Oh, perspectives. Yeah, I get it now.
Yeah, one of the things that we talked about was steroid use among athletes. There were a lot of different perspectives on that.
I don't want to know your perspectives because it's clearly going to be different than mine.
Well, excuse me. What's that supposed to mean?
Well, we all have different points of view based on our experiences, feelings, needs, and beliefs. We learned that you don't necessarily need to agree with another person's point of view. You just need to try and understand it.
Oh, now I get this whole empathy perspective thing. Alright, I'm really hungry now, so can any of you guys lend me some money?
You have to be kidding.
Oh, sure. What happened to empathy? I'm starved. What happened to put yourself in someone else's shoes? Wait up.
Remember, empathy is defined as the capability to share and understand another's emotions and feelings. It is often characterized as the ability to put yourself in another's shoes.
For kids developing empathy, it is a crucial developmental step that enhances their social skills as well as their ability to care for others.
Lack of empathy has been cited as a possible factor in the development of antisocial behaviors, including bullying. By helping to develop empathy skills, we help kids become better human beings.
Come on, you can do it. Put yourself in someone else's shoes today.
This has been a Kids News Public Service announcement.
Thank you for tuning into this edition of In the Loop. If you have any suggestions or any questions about the program that you saw this evening, I would enjoy having you communicate with me at this email address on the screen. If you have any suggestions about future shows, please forward those to me as well. Thank you.